Wrong with that many years. It's just, you can't put a price on that.
It's hard to get rid of an institution.
I know. Yeah, we'll be sad when he finally decides to be done. But I don't know. Maybe he'll just work forever.
Practice reciprocity for my licensure. I'm ready to go. So I'm totally done with this.
Our guys are live right now. You know, it's a little bit early. He got it connected.
Okay. Thank you.
Digital on the front.
He went digital. Yeah, that was a upgrade today.
Yeah, I was looking at it and
You know, it's easier to tell all the time.
huh?
It's easier to tell the time.
Yeah, maybe, but sometimes my vision doesn't.
I always just watch on my computer, but
It's for the young people that can't read a regular.
it even has the seconds on there. So you know.
Doug, you can't see the seconds though, can you?
No. I'm operating with disabilities here. Oh, so.
I just noticed Paul's feet don't touch the floor.
Oh yeah, the microphones. I don't know if they're on, or are they on? They are on. Okay. Good. Okay, I'm gonna let Brian in. If that's all right.
Oh, I was wondering where he was.
Yep, we'll let him in here. And then I let you know that Betty won't be here, so. Betty won't be here. That signed up for the resident that wanted to come and speak to council. Betty.
Betty or Becky?
Betty. Betty Burke. She won't be here.
Becky Burke.
No.
Send him a chat message that says he has 10 minutes.
Hi, Brian.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Brian.
It's 5:30.
Hello.
All right, I believe it's 5:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Kreger.
Here.
Warshak.
Here.
Jolfs.
Here.
Godey.
Here.
Honkala.
All right, we have a quorum to conduct business. Next item of business, Pledge of Allegiance. Renewed appreciation in light of international events.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Turning to our agenda, we have the consent agenda items marked by asterisks on the proposed agenda here. And I'd just like to note, I'd like us to pull, should I pull? I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah, the council minutes from February 3rd. Second. Why am I not? Oh, here we go. Yeah, this would be agenda item 5.1. I'd ask, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 5.1?
So moved.
Moved, support?
Support.
All right, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. Maybe just a word of explanation on the 5.1. There was one correction on one of the items, so the minutes will come back to us at a later date. So, all right, moving on with the agenda. City Clerk, I don't think we have any public appearances. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so we'll move past agenda item 10. Agenda item, excuse me, 11, reports from staff members. City Clerk.
Sure. So we had a meeting with the superintendent at the school this last week to talk about the traffic issues with the sports complex. We're currently working with St. Louis County on drafting some signage that will be installed in town as kind of a phase one to try to correct some of the traffic issues with the larger events there. Once that's assessed for a while, then we'll kind of look at what else we can or have to do. Also, scheduled a meeting with one of the Minnesota Power conservation improvement staff as well to go over doing some LED lighting upgrades here at City Hall, and then also take a look at the community center as well, kind of get ahead of the game if we are able to do any renovations there to make sure that we're utilizing their rebate program as much as possible. And then we did receive a couple of blight officer applicants as well, so if we want to move forward with interviews, or if we want to let it go for a little bit longer to gather a couple more applicants, we certainly can, but the couple we've received were really good, so if you guys are comfortable with it, we would move forward to next steps.
Good. Is that in lieu of pairing up with Hoyt Lakes then? So these.
I did reach out to Becky and Tim on that, and I had not heard back that the Hoyt Lakes blight officer was interested.
Good. All right, that's your report then?
Yes.
All right, thanks very much. Public Works Director Thuringer?
I don't have a rink for the winter. You know, it could be any day we could be getting warm weather, and there hasn't been any evidence of any activity down there. And it just seems it's time to probably shut it down, so
I remember
we need to have a
I was there
date.
over the week, or went by there over the weekend, there's like 5 or 6 kids out skating. I guess I haven't heard what the temps are gonna be yet, Wayne, but I don't know, seems a little, like we might still have some.
How have we
Do we still have that kid?
Yep. We have Charlie and Dylan are still.
How have we handled that issue in previous years?
Well,
Setting the closing.
I don't know that you ever actually set a date because it's so weather dependent, but
Yeah, we just said warm weather or whatever, yeah.
I mean, the ice would certainly still be there, just the warming shack would not be open, which appears has been intermittent at best anyway, so. It would just basically be terminating the 2 part-time employees for the year.
Should we maybe address that under other business then, or what? Or since this is a staff presentation time?
Sure.
Yeah. Anything else to report, in addition to the fact your crews have worked hard and done a good job of moving snow around
I was
it?
talking to Paula, and she said there's been people questioning why they're drilling in the old steam plant. What that is they're doing a study of the water levels in the St. James, and that will be one of the monitoring wells, so.
Anything else to report?
No, that would be it.
All right, thanks very much. Paula, the library report?
Thank you very much. All of our February Take and Make kits were distributed, and we are now offering 2 March activities. Our local project is a Take and Make Touch and Feel book geared toward families with little children. And then the regional activity is an acrylic painting kit. So there is a set of paints and a couple of canvases, and if people go to the library website, there are instructional videos that the artist created giving more information. And we are offering 1 of each kit per household while supplies last. And we're also inviting everyone to put together. The adult winter reading program has reached its conclusion, and we are still gathering numbers of how many books people read. But so far, the 39 participants have reported reading at least 220 library books, audiobooks, ebooks, and magazines during the 8 weeks of the program. And finally, our Library of Things collection is growing. We have recently added a workout bag of more, so we invite people to come and check out that collection. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that report. Active as always.
Yeah.
Substitute City Attorney, is there a report?
Just, Mayor, there's no lawsuits against the city that I'm aware of, so I think from the city attorney's office, everything's good to go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Carney's doing a very good job of managing any liability risk that might occur.
Well, that's very reassuring, thank you. Let's see, I think we've covered the department heads, right? So moving on then to reports from counselors. We usually start with the junior member first. Anything to report?
Well, being the junior member, I'm not on any committees yet, so hopefully by next meeting I'll have something to share.
Councilor Goff?
I don't have much to report. Planning and zoning, we had to cancel our meeting for lack of quorum. We do have a special meeting scheduled for March 29th at 5 p.m. We still have openings on the planning and zoning, so please, if anybody's interested, go to the city office and apply. We need 2 more members, I believe it is. The Joint Advisory Committee, Rec Department, we did have a meeting on the 23rd. We are going to have another meeting in March. There's going to be proposals that will be brought to the board, and we'll know more in March. The Rams meetings, I don't have much to report for that. A lot of the meetings that they've had have been in the cities, and I have not been able to make the city meetings. So that's all I have at this point.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Goss. Councilor Warshak.
Just a couple of things, Mayor. The bids were opened for the market, and Chairman Mallory basically said, I don't remember, that the bids didn't scare the developers off, or something. That's how she worded it, I believe. So which is a good thing, you know. And so I think they had refrigeration bids still due this week as of today. Yeah. So once they get those in, they were going to talk to the folks with the Entrepreneur Fund, and so things are moving along. Anyway, things are moving along yet with the market. So I'm just glad that the bids must have came in somewhat reasonable or whatever, you know. So that was good news. And then I think we've already talked about the spring cleanup, but just to keep that on the radar, that should be coming up in what, May or something like that, whenever we do the spring cleanup. To Wayne and crew, the snow removal, they're moving snow and getting piles out of the way, and big job this year, sure appreciate it. And then like Norma Jean said, I believe the HRA still needs at least one more member too, so yeah, like she said, if there's people out there, we got things for them to do, so that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. I have very little to report, which is a different turn of events, but one thing I'm going to just note, we had a community advisory panel meeting today, which had a very interesting presentation by one of our local business members, Lance Johnson from Amtech, and just underscored the supply chain problems like just his business is encountering. And that was before the impacts of the Ukrainian war. And very sobering, long-range ordering process to really acquire some what otherwise would be rather routine components for the work that they do. And as we go about some of our projects, wherever there are materials needed, and I assume Wayne, you're probably hearing the same thing. It's going to inject both a cost element to it and a time delay element. So that was quite a sobering. And then we had the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce was the head of that, or their business development person was making a presentation and gave a good overall perspective of what's going well with the state economy and what isn't. And several notable items, the lack of labor, of course, and the lowering of the labor participation rates within the state that partly, well, attributed to a variety of factors anyway. On the positive side, the speaker indicated that Minnesota is more or less distinctive in the numbers of new business filings that are coming in, and he did say that was distinctive nationally. So that's encouraging for the economies, and we can only hope to attract some of those enterprising individuals and firms to possibly do some work up here. Let's see, on the water project, it continues to move along at a fast pace, 100% design. We've had meetings very recently with Congressman Stauber's staff, with Senator Klobuchar's staff, with the Department of Iron Resources and Rehabilitation, trying to close the funding gap to get any obligation for the communities for the financing of that ambitious project down to a manageable debt level that could be dealt with by what the state calls an affordable rate for our customers in the utilities area. I believe, let's see, the East Range Joint Powers Board is working with Northspan on a trail map that's not quite ready for publication according to the city clerk, but it's going to be a nice added attraction with accompanying signage. And that's my report. So we'll go back to the agenda. Perhaps with the legal counsel, as long as Bolton and Mank, Brian is here for agenda item 17.1. Would it be all right to break with the agenda? Okay, I see consent nods there. So, Brian, welcome to the meeting. I understand we have an I&I update, and it's going so well, I'm sure it'll be brief.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Council.
Where to be tonight?
We think it's going well. Things are progressing well. I had a recent update from data that came in through last week, so that's kind of the numbers that I actually have a couple different pieces of number here. So as of about February 4th, we had an update where we had gotten a total of 417 inspections done. And if you recall, when we first budgeted for the project, for the inspection, we had started out with a budget for about 400 inspections. And so we got a little bit above that based on that budget. And what we've seen, there was a few different categories in that budget for different I&I work, and there was some preliminary engineering. And it looks like we'll be able to finish the inspections by just reallocating some funds from some of the other task items. So there's no necessary increase in the funds for finishing the I&I inspections. And the city had obtained funding for these efforts from Minnesota Rural Water Association as part of the loan with the current screen project that's going on. So all of that funding package is already in place, and there's no need to make any adjustments to any of that. So so that's kind of the budget update. But in terms of inspections through last week, there's been a total of about 520 inspections completed. And there's about 200 residents that have not scheduled yet, that are not on the schedule. And then there's about 150 that have indicated no sump pump that we've looked at previous records. So there's about 200 inspections left. Depending on if the number of those that fail, there would be re-inspections with those. But we're looking at about 200, and some of those may indicate no sump pump, so we don't know the exact number that's left there. Currently, there's been 52 inspections that have failed. And we know there's more failing systems than that because a couple things have occurred, which I've shared with you in the past. One, people were starting to correct the issue before the inspection happened as they were talking to neighbors. And so I know some corrections were made prior to the inspection. Our inspectors have also been working with homeowners that when they find a fail, if the homeowner is willing to take swift action, instead of failing them, our inspectors have said, go ahead and fix it, give me a call, I'll stop back, and then we can pass you on our first inspection. That way we don't have to worry about trying to reschedule another inspection. So we've had, 10 to 20 of those that have been kind of fixed before they were ever failed. So although there's 52 that we know have failed, I know there's been more than that have simply been corrected prior to ever failing them. And so I guess I'll just stop there. See if there's any questions on any of the information so far that I've shared.
I just had a question about, so approximately 200 of our residential customers will probably be in the category of having the $100 added to their bills each month until they get them inspected?
That is correct. As of earlier today, that was the number of residents that have not called to set up an inspection. And so that fine would come on the March bill. And I don't know, staff, city clerk, if you'd like to share any more about kind of that process that we discussed at the last wastewater committee meeting.
Sure. Yeah, we talked about the people that still remain to call and schedule or verify that they don't need an inspection due to acceptable criteria. $100 surcharge will be added to their March bill. And we had talked about that if people are willing to schedule, you know, because maybe someone's not getting the info in the newspaper or on Facebook or from the council meeting, that, you know, it'd probably be our best bet to waive that fee if they call and immediately schedule an inspection versus hold them to that $100 and then they schedule an inspection and get it done. So we know that we probably have to work with people to get this done because we've done, you know, we've tried a couple different ways to reach out to people and continuously over the last couple months, but certainly there's probably some people that aren't, you know, getting the information. So if somebody calls and has an acceptable reason, then we can easily remove that surcharge from their bills as well. So, but they will, you know, anyone we haven't heard from yet, they will be added for the March bill. So, and looking at that list too, there was some of them, like, there was a lot of them from, like, that are the trailer houses from over by the hospital and stuff. So I wondered if maybe we look at some of them and we'd probably be able to waive, you know, weed some of them out, just kind of knowing the town. So I got a list from Brian's staff earlier this week that I've already kind of glanced at, and they're gonna get us an updated list too that we can cross-reference just for next week when we go at it with residential building will be first.
Well, hopefully people will have gotten the message and comply. Just out of curiosity too, what was the failure rate? Are we finding significant failures that could be encouraging in the sense of cutting down on our I&I?
Yes, I think so. So as I mentioned, there's actually been 52 failures, and then there's been those other instances where people have corrected it before we came. And I think early on it was starting to project towards maybe around 100 failing systems, and I think we're kind of still headed towards that number. And it kind of depends on each system what that volume could actually mean. You know, so a lot of sump pumps are designed to run between 10 and 20 gallons a minute. So if those are running and pumping into the sewer and you had, you know, 50 pumps running at 20 gallons a minute, that's a significant amount of flow. Some of the failures are also just gravity drain overflows, so they're not pumped. You know, so that could be a different volume of water. So I think there's definitely things found that will impact, and as we get some wet weather in spring here, hopefully we do see a sign that some reductions have been made in the flows. Before I forget, I want to go back to the surcharge discussion, and just so the council knows, you know, the original letters went out with a deadline, but over the last month, anybody who has not scheduled an inspection has either received a phone call, and if we did not have a phone number, they received another mailing. And so all those people who have not signed up have had additional correspondence to them of some matter trying to sign up. And we did want to make sure that we provided a lot of communication so that people weren't caught off guard. So we've been calling out to people for the last month and had a lot of new inspections scheduled. So there's been multiple efforts made to try to contact people. And as Stephanie said, if people get the surcharge and call and try to schedule right away, I think there'll be some flexibility then to work with those people too. So,
Councilors, other questions? No? Do you have additional remarks to add the topic, or?
I don't, but one other thing pops in my mind as I've mentioned some of the funding for this is that the screen project is still moving forward. That hasn't gotten much attention because of talking about the I&I inspection, the sump pumps all the time. But that project is moving forward. The building showed up to the site and is being constructed, and the screen is supposed to show up towards the end of April, around early May. And so hopefully that piece of equipment will be in by the middle of May. and is a significant step to helping the treatment plant out by removing those rags and things that have been causing a lot of issues out there. So another positive thing here as we look towards spring for the treatment plant.
Very good. Appreciate the update and all the efforts your team's putting into trying to get us some improvement on that I&I problem. So, all right, if there are no further comments by you, Brian, thanks very much. You're welcome to certainly stay on, but also I know you have a life to go to otherwise.
All right, have a great evening.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks,
you,
Brian.
Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, if we could return back to the agenda, we were on old business. 16.1 is the order on 6th Street, and seeing it on the agenda prompted me today to talk with our city attorney and trying to arrange a meeting of Wayne and myself anyway, possibly Brian, to talk over some legal issues of that, and we're working on the scheduling of that for in the immediate future anyway. So unless someone else has other concerns or comments on that, hopefully we'll make some progress there. A special election, 16.2. City Clerk, do you want to lay that issue in before us?
Well, we posted the ordinance for the required 10 days, and now we need to have that published prior to it being effective, I guess you should say. So I put it in there as informational, and I don't know if anyone wants to discuss further information before we can actually, I'm assuming we have to wait until it's published before they adopt it, is that, I'm assuming, or no?
The ordinance becomes effective when it's published. So, I don't, it depends on, typically you pass an ordinance, it published so that people know that the city council is considering this ordinance. So have you done that? Have you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and then,
So they just haven't set the special election date because we're waiting for it to become effective,
okay, so,
essentially.
so first, the procedure normally would be, you're gonna pass a new ordinance, you would have it published in your legal paper, so people are, the citizens are aware there's a new ordinance coming on the books, they have an opportunity to, comment on it at a council meeting, and then you would officially, after it's typically 10 days that you would, at least 10 days that you would have it published, and then at the, once the 10 days have passed, the council can officially act on the ordinance, and then the ordinance really doesn't become effective until it's actually published in the legal newspaper as an approved ordinance of the city. So I would,
Okay.
so you're at.
So we're probably good to wait then on setting the special election date until our next meeting, because it'll be published by then for the length of time that we need.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. So have you haven't met the 10 days yet?
not, for posting, but not published,
Okay, all right.
yep. So I think just informational for now, but if
Yeah.
anybody has any questions regarding the ordinance, we certainly could talk more about it.
Are there questions from any of the councilors on the ordinance? All right, if not, we'll let the time run and anticipate it, on our middle of the month meeting?
Yes.
All right, very good. Thank you. I believe that completes our old business. Turning to new business, we're down to 17.2, Resolution 2022-11, establishing precincts and polling places in response to the what is it, the new political map, let's put it, that has been published, which I suppose most notably it came up today too at our CAP meeting. White Lakes was saying that they are now sort of separated, at least legislatively, from the rest of the East Range and are in a new district. So that's certainly a dramatic impact. So. But looking at the resolution that's before us, City Clerk, I assume it's just kind of a formality?
It is, yes. Yep, the redistricting was done from what I could tell was that it's done approximately every 10 years, and it's based off of census. Regardless if there was any changes or not, we still have to adopt a resolution reestablishing our polling places and polling places and precincts, there we
Yeah.
go.
And we only have one precinct,
Yes.
and,
Yep, and that's
nothing's
included.
changed then on that.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
all right, we have resolution 2022-11 before us. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved, support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the matters are taken care of. Moving on to the Joint Public Services, Safety Services Agreement. You have the materials in the packet and a host of data that the city clerk has put together here. City clerk, do you want to just kind of explain the issue?
Yep, so there's the joint public safety services agreement is in there for council to consider of up to 3 years. I had put together some background information that some had requested would be helpful to make, to help analyze the data anyways. There wasn't, a few minor changes in the language of the agreement compared to the previous one, but nothing real notable. So that was, I guess, what I have, so if there was any other specific questions or anything like that. Chief Stuhler wasn't able to make it to the meeting tonight, so I'm not sure, and didn't have any comments for me to share anyways, so.
We voted on this at our last meeting, our Eastern Joint Powers meeting, and I voted for it. But knowing it would come back to the council, I do have some concerns. I'm nervous about going into a 5% per year for 3 years. Just the way things are going, budgets overall, I just have some concerns about doing the 5% per year without, you know, there might not be any changes next year, so why would we go up 5%? You know, in the past, we've done a yearly budget and you know, so I just have some concerns about going 3 years. Yeah.
One thing I was thinking that with the cost of gas and diesel fuel, this budget might get knocked all the heck.
Yeah, and I don't know, you saw in the package, Minnesota Power's gonna raise the rates for lights, you know, and power and just overall, I really wonder where we're gonna be at budget-wise, you know, so, yeah.
And to kind of echo what came up at the CAP meeting today too, I mean, it's difficult to imagine outside of when the pandemic sunk in, you know, back in March of 2020, another time that everything's up in the air so much. I mean, fuel and supply costs are just, it could go up, it could go down. I feel uncomfortable with a multi-year commitment. I don't know, Councilor Warshak, any thoughts on, is 5% imperative?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there, I mean, what have we done in the past? We've done 3 year, we've done,
For the PD, it's been year by year.
It's been
Year
year
by
by year.
year, yeah.
Because honestly, I don't have a problem with it. You know my position on it. We are paying for public safety, plain and simple. These guys are putting their life in danger, maybe not daily, but they're getting paid for what they may have to do, plain and simple. I mean, we have a great police department. 5% increase, I know that these guys are underpaid for what they do, plain and simple.
Well, this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their wages, though, you know what I mean?
But it is, everything is going up. Everything is going
yeah.
up. So, I mean, what are we going to ask them to decrease, and are we gonna ask them
I'm
to
not gonna ask
drive?
them to decrease anything.
To
I would
pay-
say we would do a 1 year again. Yeah.
1 year?
Yeah. Well, especially we have it budgeted for 1 year. We have it budgeted for this year, so I would say we we do it, go ahead and do it this year.
Are we tied with Town of White and
Town of White,
to county?
There's separate.
Town of White, yeah, Town of White's a county or whatever, yeah. Yeah.
I still, I mean, in my mind, it's cheaper than paying the county. What is the county wages, it's gonna be.
Well, I kinda did some figuring, and actually, we'd be a little bit cheaper with the county. Well, we don't know that, cause we don't know what the county would've gone up, we don't know what the county would've gone up to either, you know, so, yeah.
I just, yeah, I just got, are we gonna ask them to, what categories are we gonna ask them to decrease then?
I'm not saying we're gonna ask them to decrease anything. I'm just saying, let's keep going with the
1
1
year?
year, yeah. I'm not
I
saying,
didn't
you know,
pick up on the data that there was a deficit
No.
at this point. So, you know, that would be particularly compelling on doing something, and, yeah, I just.
And
echo
actually,
again,
the police
I'm
department
uncomfortable with the multi-year.
has a surplus or
Yeah.
what, yeah.
And Chief Suler's very good at
Yeah.
managing
Yeah.
his budget. I mean, I accolades to him because he is really spot on when it comes to managing the budget, so.
And managing the police force.
Absolutely,
yeah.
we have an
Uniquely.
amazing police
Yeah.
force.
Yeah.
Well, all right, we've had some discussion. Is there a motion, Council Worship?
I'll make a motion that we continue with a 1-year agreement.
For
With,
what percentage?
well, for the 5%,
For the
yeah,
5%.
yeah.
Is there support for that? I'll support it, yep. So, really, is there further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No,
Opposed?
opposed.
Okay, so 3-1, the motion carries, and we'll have a 1-year budget, and all of us
And then,
anxiously sitting to see what's gonna happen.
I guess I should have said when there's more, I would like for Norma Jean and I, and probably Steph, to meet with Tim and to discuss the Aurora part first, and then at some point, we'd probably meet with the board or whatever, you know, just to talk budgets a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
Sometime in the near
In the near
future.
future.
Yeah, yeah.
I can schedule a meeting.
okay.
Certainly appreciate the time Councilor Joss and Councilor Warshak put in on that, and it seems to have yielded excellent results in terms of time when law enforcement issues are difficult for any chief to contend with.
Exactly.
And the challenges that came from the pandemic and everything, we're certainly blessed to have a force like that. So,
Absolutely, we
yeah.
are.
all right, moving on to agenda item 17.4, community center use requests. I think we have 2 of them. Let's see, we deal with them separately. City Clerk?
Sure. Okay, so we had the Aurora Volunteer Fire Department recently reestablished their Relief Association, and they'd like to use the space for their annual Pancake Feed, which they always had in the past, except for last year. They didn't have one due to the pandemic, but that was one request. And then the other one was, I'm not trying to find the sheet.
The
Was it
All
the one,
Soft.
okay, it was, I had to make sure,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it was. We had 2 that had come in recently, so, and then the All Subs Club, they've met their, it's a senior group, they're not, part of the senior citizen group that's, kind of been using regularly, the space since the building's been built, but, a regular group as well that we've collected the security deposit. They're really good at helping out and keeping the space nice and tidy and stuff like that. So they're just asking to be able to use the space without the fee being charged.
All right, again, probably should consider them separately. Is there a motion to approve waiving the rental fee for the Pancake Feed? So moved by Councilor Godey. Support?
I'll support.
Moved and supported. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the fee is waived. Looking at the second item, All Slavs Club once a month. waiver of their rental fee. Is there a motion?
What day of the week do they need the building? You-
It's always the.
There's been quite a few people now that have kind of come along asking to use it for free, and where are the overlaps and conflicts gonna start?
They're during, I can't remember exactly without looking what day and time, but there wasn't ever, I mean, in the last year that I've been here, there hasn't been a conflict.
Okay,
And correct me if I'm wrong, Steph, but didn't we set it up that if there's a group that comes in that pays, then these guys, they would get bumped?
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
And
that.
likewise,
Okay.
if the city has a need. right,
But
equity
I'm
allows it.
thinking if there's two groups that want it at the same time for free, you know, who gets it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're during the week on an evening night, and actually their meeting is set up as a recurring meeting, monthly meeting in there, and then, yeah, if there's any conflicts, then we typically would, with any of the groups that are set up for their
Elections
annual
or-
monthly meetings, they've all been really good and flexible, but there's, during the weeknights, there's typically not much competition, so we haven't had any issues.
Good point to raise though, so.
Yep.
All right, is there a motion to approve the request? Moved, support,
Support.
moved and supported, any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's waived also. Going back to the agenda, library board, a non-voting member, librarian Chapman, do you wanna explain that? So-
I sure can. At the library board meeting, there was some discussion about trying to solicit the regular input of a young person. And obviously, the makeup of the board is established by state statute. But we did reach out to State Library Services, and they said there would be no conflict with a non-voting member position. So the library board voted to create such a position that would be allowed, though it wouldn't necessarily be mandatory, but the position would be there if we could find an interested team to participate in library board meetings. So we are bringing the request to the council to see if you would be willing to approve that position.
Well, just speaking for myself, it's a wonderful proactive gesture to get people involved in city government in some way, and in particular library services. Other thoughts?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to consider a student member of the council, or what? Not voting, or we'll defer that to another date. All right, is there a motion to approve the request to create a non-voting member position?
So moved.
Moved, support.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you for that initiative to the board there. Under other matters, let's see, I believe we mentioned that Wayne had asked whether we could take action on deciding to, leave the rink open, right, but close the use of there, the care of it and supervision of it. Would that be it?
It would just be terminating the employment of the two part-time employees.
Okay. Is there a motion? We can take action on that tonight, city clerk or city attorney?
Do they have to make a motion to add something like that to the agenda?
Yeah, I mean, I think really under, you know, something like that, especially where there might be citizens who might wanna speak on something like, typically you'd wanna have that as part of a posted meeting agenda, you know, if you're gonna take action on it. I think you have to kind of make a decision. Sometimes routine administrative items that come up that need to be acted on are more routine in nature. Sometimes you can add those to the agenda if you do have a motion to officially add it to the agenda. But things that might be a matter of some substance that other citizens may want to weigh in on, you know, I mean, technically under the open meeting law, you really shouldn't act on those things unless they've been part of a posted meeting agenda.
It strikes me as it would be an administrative action to change the schedule of the rink
That would be your judgment call, you if you consider it a routine administrative item, I think you can add it.
Well, I'm
It's
just
I
thinking-
guess the bottom line, what I typically advise a council, it's not all, you don't wanna get into a meeting and add a lot of stuff onto the agenda, because the open meeting law calls for meeting agendas to go up, to be posted, citizens can see what's coming up on an agenda, and they have an opportunity on policy items to come and weigh in if they wanna do that as being a participant in city government. But something like this, if you deem it to be more of just an administrative decision that you wanna do, I think you can do something like that.
I was thinking, the act of cutting back the schedule would be an administrative thing, and then if we actually had to terminate the position, maybe it could be on our next meeting. Would that be a way to compromise out and still allow for some public input, or?
Next meeting's only,
2 weeks
a
from
week
now.
away or whatever,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
But if I would, unless the other council members object, I would think the administration can make the decision of how much to schedule a rink attendant during that interim period. All right, other items to consider? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. We're going to be meeting next on Tuesday, March 15th at 5:30 here live. And is there a motion to adjourn? Moved, support.
Support.
Moved and supported. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned in record time.
There you go.
You think so, record?